Sante D'Orazio is one of the most influential fashion photographers of our time. His images of supermodels like Cindy Crawford, Kate Moss, Christy Turlington, and Naomi Campbell helped define an era. Over the years, he's turned his lens on cultural icons, from Pamela Anderson to Johnny Depp, Keith Richards, Mike Tyson, Prince, Janet Jackson, and so many more, capturing them in raw, intimate, and unforgettable ways. His work has appeared in Vogue, Vanity Fair, Interview, and Playboy, and he's also made his mark as a painter and filmmaker. Now with the release of his memoir, A Shot in the Dark, Sante is pulling back the curtain on the stories behind the image and the life that shaped them. Hello, Sante. How are you?
Good to be here. Good to see you.
This memoir is so fascinating. What made you become a photographer? Because that wasn't really your first passion.
I was going to the Art Students League one day and I had one of those giant portfolios. This man, Lou Bernstein, was always Mr. Bernstein on the block. Okay, he always had his camera. And he asked me one day, he goes, would you want to learn photography? And I thought it would be a great addition to my painting. On weekends, I'd go with him to Coney Island, Washington Square Park, the Botanical Gardens, wherever people gathered, and it was street photography. It was about the relationship of not just line, shape, and form, but the emotional impact of a moment. And I remember when I developed my first negatives, they were all black. And I was like, Lou, they're all black. What do I do? He goes, look, you read the book. I'm going to teach you how to see.
So when you say he taught you how to see, what does that mean?
How to recognize a moment. Like there's that great painting of Michelangelo and God in the Sistine Chapel, right up there where they're about to touch, okay? That was the moment. If it was a little here, if they weren't parallel, the angle, whatever it is, you got to recognize the moment. And so with the greatest impact, emotional impact. In that moment, that all has to be intuitive. And going back to person saying 1, 2, 3, taking the picture, I always say press it at 1, because that's probably the best moment. Because at 2, the energy sags a little. At 3, it goes down. So you missed it. And if you have time to think about your picture while you're taking it, you missed the moment. It's already 2 blocks away.
You said something about Andy Warhol and Basquiat. You were working for Interview magazine, and then they died. And you said in the book, it was an end of an era, but then it was sort of the beginning of
a new one. Every ending is the prelude to a new beginning.
And so how is that a new beginning for you? Because then we got into the supermodel era, which you were very much a part of.
I grew up with those girls, Cindy, Christy. I was doing catalogs, Bonwit Teller catalogs, and they weren't superstars at all. We were all friends, and then our careers went skyrocket, and there was no planning, no controlling that.
So there's a story about Kate Moss that you talk about when you shot her in the bathtub.
She sat in the tub with her feet hanging out, reading a book from the 30s, Help Your Husband Get Ahead. I thought that was humorous from my picture. But she wasn't giving me, I wasn't getting, and so, you have to figure something out. So I said, listen, Kate, I'm going to leave the room. Do you mind if I ask you, can you go back in the tub without your panties on? And she's like, okay.
She had to really trust you.
So anyway, she took off her panties. She was like, why'd you have me take the panties off? Because you can't see it. I go, they were for you and for me, for you to take them off. You felt different, didn't you? She goes, of course I did. I go, well, that's the key, And so respectfully, you never see anything because the tub's over here, but it was here.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was here. She felt more sexy or sensual.
You did all these nudes, and they're not voyeuristic. They're raw, they're beautiful, there's an emotion. Right. How did you get models to let their guard down and give you those moments?
Look, some people have no problem walking around here on a set totally nude. If I need to, I'll start you with a robe, and you can lay down flat. So we're not seeing top or bottom. Then we'll just take take it off your shoulders as I'm shooting. And, you peel it away because they're feeling more and more comfortable. They're feeling the shot. They're feeling me. Cindy was like, I think I'm better off bareback, just nothing on.
There's a great story in the book about Keith Richards. It was his solo cover, and you were getting ready, and he walks in, and you think you're going to shoot him, but he wants to sit back.
I knew all these guys would want to, chill for a minute, have a drink, because, even though they get shot a lot, it's still it's a process. So I made a little room for him, and I knew Jack Daniels. I had a bottle. I rolled a few joints for him in case, whatever. And so he came in, and that's straight where he went. And it was just me and him. And so whatever he did, I did. It's like, I said, no, I don't drink, type. I can't do that to Keith Richards, but I was more than happy to have a drink. So I poured Jack Daniels. I drank my Jack Daniels with him. He smoked a joint, and I smoked it. I think we had four of these tall glasses and 2 joints. And then Keith gets up, and he always has a knife in his pocket, in his pants. I say he pulls out and he flicks the blade open, and then a little packet comes out, and it's like, another one for me, 2 for him, 3 for me. Now another Jack Daniels, and I'm like, oh my God. He gets up, he goes, okay, I'm ready, let's shoot. I couldn't get off the chair. I swear. And man, I partied hard, but I couldn't get off the chair. So I managed to, and got to my senses, guys, you gotta help me, make sure the camera's in the right direction. And I managed to take some of the best pictures ever.
So you photographed Johnny Depp in that iconic photo of him. What was Johnny Depp like?
Johnny Depp was the essence of cool. At that time, he was really hot. He had to go take a shower because I don't know where he came from, and he had to take a shower. So there was a shower there, and he came out of the shower with every girl's fantasy. Just a towel around his bottom and his motorcycle boots untied. All right. And there happened to be one of the owners had a muscle car in the garage, and I had lifted the garage doors because that's how the studio worked. And there's the muscle car, and Johnny's chain smoking, and wow, he checked out the car. All right. That's the shot. And that's how it happens.
Amazing.
You got to be aware of it though. You're on as a photographer. You just have to keep your eyes, let things happen. The best shots, even on set, are the shots in between what the subject thinks the moment is, because otherwise it becomes everybody else's picture of them.
So with Arnold Schwarzenegger, was it the same way?
No,
Was
he's a different kind of person. He almost comes off more formal. I guess the European thing, yeah. But at the same time, he's lighting up a Cohiba or something like that when it was illegal to have. He had boxes in his trailer. And so that tells me that, he's got a little bit of a renegade in him. So, and that's what I tried to pull out. John Travolta came in and it's like, we were cool, but I'm not dancing for any pictures.
Dancing?
I'm not dancing for any pictures. So I said, fine, I don't need you to dance. And then I had music going, and him and I are vibing, and he's not moving, but we're cool. And the song came on. I go, come on, man, you got to do that for me. And then he just, of course, look for you.
Look at that.
Yeah, for you, of course. And he was dancing for me.
Wow.
And so I got all.
And you got just the greatest pictures.
And was it the same with Mike Tyson with the tiger?
Oh, Mike Tyson, my God, that was crazy. He took his shirt off and he's all smiling, he's throwing some punches. And then he goes, let me get whatever the friggin' tiger's name was, And so the tiger comes over and he's wrestling with it. He's got his arm around, and that's the shot.
You did this great shoot with Christy Turlington in Montauk. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I was not a fashion photographer when I entered the business. I didn't really know much about fashion. But I knew from all my life drawing and my painting experience, I knew nudes. And I would assign myself something for Italian Vogue that they didn't know they were going to print yet. So I have Christy, I have Cara, who was later my wife, and those two grew up near each other in California. And so we went to the Panoramic View Hotel, which I love, on Old Montauk Highway, next door to Gurney's. And they hung out nude and came out of the shower and came out nude, sat on the bed. So she's got a towel on her head, and then she sits in a comfortable manner. Boom, I've got a shot. Do a nude, and I'll just step out and lay down on the bed, get comfortable, and I'll come in when you tell me. And so I came in, she was laying down. And that's the classic. That's a forever picture.
So you spent a lot of time in Montauk with Peter Beard, Julian Schnabel. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience?
Julian was renting for the summers the Warhol estate that was 3 large fishermen's cabins. And they were gorgeous, though, but not in a polished sense, in an old world, down to earth sense. But Julian would bring in his Picasso and leave it there. He would Warhol. Down the road, next door to Avedon, was Peter Beard's home. Something in his dark room in the basement lit up the place, and the entire thing burnt down except the chimney. So he lived in the caretaker's house the rest of his life. I said, Peter, let me blow up and print some of your iconic graphic images here, because I was like, you got to do a book. I made him a set of 12 each of 12 images. And when I got there the first day with all the prints, bing bong, who is it? Mailman. And mailman comes, hey, Steve, how you doing? That was Peter. Have a drink. And it's like, no, I'm working. And it's like, okay, then have a print. So he signs up one of the prints I just made to him, to the mailman. Well, I've got nowhere to put it. Hey, fold it up if you want, because they look better distressed. So that's Peter. That's Peter. Julian still is, in my book, one of the grand masters of painting and also later filmmaking. I always saw him as a big brother that I didn't have. And he also reminded me of my father, who was grand, but bordering on pompous sometimes, bordering on grandiosity at times. That was my father. But I'm also describing Julian. And so I was used to that. Other people couldn't stand him for it. You walk into a museum, my painting should go there, or walk into your house and rearrange your furniture.
Is everybody photogenic? Is it the photographer or is it the model?
You have to find it as the photographer. You have to find something in them and not compare it to someone else's looks. You're an individual that I'm photographing. I'm going to find the best possible angle for you, the best emotional moment, and make you the best you've ever looked. I'm always proud of someone telling me, my God, I've never seen myself that way. When I shot Sophia Loren, it was like, Sante, just this angle over here.
Do you have a favorite?
My greatest success with Stephanie Seymour as my muse. And it was funny because other photographers had difficulty in shooting her. Bruce Weber once said to me, he's like, I have no idea how you do that with Stephanie. I mean, every picture I see is incredible, and I can't take a good picture of her. Stephanie has this natural, seductive quality. And I basically was able to feel it and capture it on film.
Is there something distinctive that would say it's yours?
I can't tell you because they're my pictures. I can tell you what people have told me, that I can tell your pictures from a mile away. It's in the essence. It still carries that same vibe I had with her to share with you. That's the picture.